Welcome back to another Access Center 2 video, and in today's video I'm back with another interview. I'm here with Caio Machado. Hopefully I got that right. How are we doing, mate?
I'm doing great. I'm doing great. How about yourself?
I'm doing very well, thank you, and it's a pleasure to have you on. And for anybody that doesn't know, am I right in saying you're a heavyweight who's 29, 8, 1 and 1?
Exactly. 29 years old, 81-1 with six, 5 KOs and 2 subs.
Amazing, lovely stuff. So, just to start off with the question which I always like to start off with, why did you start MMA?
I started martial arts when I was a kid. I was just a big kid with big clumsy kid, and by accident, just playing, would end up hurting my friends. So my parents decided to put me in BJJ back in the day to to so I could get some understanding of my strength, understanding of my body, and be able to control myself a little bit more. I've always been involved with sports through all this time. I was also doing basketball, rugby, soccer, and I was just think because like just in a high school or something, or like the last couple of years of high school, I started watching more MMA, started getting more involved with this sport, and that's why when I decided to join Muay Thai and training a little bit more towards competition. Took me a while to take that as a career and think of that as something serious. But once I got my debut, I fell in love, and I said, "Yeah, that's what I'm gonna do for the rest of my life."
Amazing. And so, do you kind of remember what happened in your first amateur fight?
I my first I never fought as an amateur in MMA.
Okay.
My first Muay Thai, I forgot everything I trained, and I just want to hit the. Cardio was shit. We just kept swinging hands. I got my hand raised. I don't know how. I don't know exactly why I threw, but worked.
Okay, great. Okay, and so what kind of was the reason between you wanting to go into MMA from being a Muay Thai fighter?
So I was also doing a BJJ at the same time.
Hmm.
I was training Muay Thai. I always compete more in Muay Thai, but
Hmm.
the whole idea to start training Muay Thai in the beginning was to get more involved with MMA, to help my training the guys in the gym with the fights, to maybe eventually get like one fight on the books and feel the energy to get into the cage. So through all this time, especially like since I started Muay Thai, my end game was always to like transition into MMA. So once I started going more serious and got a little bit more experience, that was a natural transition for me.
Of course. And so, why did you end up kind of turning professional when you did?
Say again.
Why did you turn over and turn professional when you did?
I had the when I decided to go to transition to MMA, I had the chance to go amateur first and wreck in a couple of fights, but it was already, if I'm not wrong, 24, 20, 23, 24. I had a considerable amount of experience either in grappling and Muay Thai, so we didn't feel we thought it was a waste of time to spend time on amateurs, and while like I could just get more experience in the locals and the regional scene, a couple wins, a couple of losses in the beginning wouldn't affect my record overall if I kept going. But well, even with that, my record is still good.
Mm.
I think he made the right decision. I didn't have that time that I spent on the amateurs, and had to build up a record right after and work out well.
It did indeed. And so, I mean, so far, of course, you've got them 8 victories, and of course, one being in the Dana White Contender Series. We'll touch a little bit more upon that in a moment, but just from them 8 victories, which one would you say you've performed your best in?
Uh, I think have two. It's I think it's my my second fight against Li Ming, where I start from the get go, flurry of punches. I was busy for the whole fight. I could try. I kept attacking. I kept putting my shots in. I heard him a couple of times. He shot. I'm making a shot for a wrong takedown and got on top and got a submission right away. I think overall was my most dominant performance. I was start to finish. I was hitting hard. I was hitting clean. Was fine with all my shots. But my favorite is when I knock out Kristen Larson. That was probably hooks. I stepped back and from softball to orthodox and land the short left hook, and he dropped right on my feet. And I grabbed his chin, put it up so I couldn't hit the back of the neck, and just had her fist in while standing. That was my favorite moment of fighting. But not necessarily my overall performance. The fight was not very long.
No, I can tell that you appreciate that, the amount of in-depth kind of analysis you give into that. No, I appreciate that. And
yeah.
So, I mean, of course, you were in the Dana White Contender Series, and I mean, you were doing very well beforehand in your career. But what was the kind of reaction when you heard that they were interested?
That's something that I've been working on. I think I've been building my record on the regional scene. I see the heavyweights on the UFC, and I'm honestly not impressed with most of them. So I knew if I could having good wins, fighting good fights, getting good opponents, I would get my shot eventually. I had to wait another year to some of these issues, but I knew my shot was getting closer sometime soon.
Okay, and I mean, how kind of much did it help boost your platform being on a series like that?
So what do you mean?
So, I mean, like your kind of, I suppose your social medias and your whole kind of aura around you, how many more, I suppose, fans have come from being in that series?
Saying I got about 1,200 followers. That was like a third of what I had before the fight. So that's good. But overall, I got a lot of message saying, "Oh, good job, congratulations, but have fun at the UFC. You deserve it." I got a little bit of hate on the Twitter. People were not pleased with my fight, but I could do just so much with a guy that didn't want to engage with me, and Twitter is there for hate, so I'm not that worried about that. I know I did my job, and overall, that was a good response of that.
No, it's nice to see that you can kind of take them, I suppose, them haters just on the chin and just not really think too much about them. It's necessary to be able to have that kind of thick skin, especially online. Yeah, of course.
Especially online, if you give too much voice to the bad stuff, you're not gonna pay attention to anything else. So just need to let it go.
Of course. And so, I mean, so far, you've not quite had your UFC debut yet, but how excited are you for that debut?
I'm very excited. I think I can bring a lot to the heavyweight division right now. Even with the guys there right now, especially at the top of the division, it's the most interesting years. So I can't wait to finally get into that pool and have some fun. I think there's fun matchups to do right now, especially the beginning, and I can't wait to finally do my debut. Finally, stepping in on the big stage, and with those UFC gloves, right, and throw some bombs and have some fun.
Amazing. And so, what would you say on those days, which I'm sure everybody has, where maybe you don't really want to go into the gym, but you still have to anyway? What is that kind of motivation?
It's the end game. Like for me, it's look at my son, look at my family, and that's why I do the grinding, why I keep going. But I like to say like you show how you are as a fighter, not when you show up on your best day, but when you show up on your worst day. It's still grind, it's still working. So it's easy. That's the difference. It's easy to show up when it's all sunshine and rainbows, but when it's cold outside, when it's raining, and when you feel like shit, that's when you need to show up.
Yeah, I have to agree. And so, do you or can you really say when you be looking to maybe the month of when you'll be looking to make your UFC debut?
I think time wise, I think November would be ideal for me.
Mm-hmm.
That will give you enough time to do some recovering, to get a full camp.
Mm-hmm.
Keep in shape. I'm not a party guy, so I don't really need to worry about that. I don't need to worry about cutting. But anytime in November would be perfect. I would love to fight in São Paulo, but I'm open to just fight whenever, whatever.
Amazing. And so, for anybody who maybe hasn't watched you fight before, what would you say makes yourself interesting as a fighter?
I'm a heavyweight that can do a little bit of everything. I can wrestle, I can grapple, I can strike, and I bring a pace that usually heavyweights can do it. Like I can keep going for 3-5 rounds and just keep going. So as you see on the contender fight, I'm there. I'll be from start to finish on the pace.
Okay, brilliant. And so, I mean, you've kind of touched upon this already, but how far do you believe you can go?
I still need to work. I still need to improve. I'm very young, and I know I feel I have a lot of space to learn, and finally got the platform to do so. I believe my best improvement happens during the fights when I get challenged, and there's no place better to challenge myself than the UFC. So if everything works out well, I'm looking to become a champion pretty soon.
Brilliant. And I mean, from the sounds of things, you kind of know your way around the kind of division and know who's in the division. And of course, the one kind of massive fight in the division at the moment is just one which I kind of wanted to get your thoughts on, that being Jones versus Miocic. And what's your opinion on that?
I think Jones gonna take the fight. I see the difference in skills. Jones is a more well-rounded fighter. He can work on space. Stipe has a harder time. Even Stipe is a great fighter, but the 3 years that Stipe haven't fought, 41 years of age. I don't know how much he can keep going. I think he's going for his last fight of his career, but like he's still very much gamer of a fighter. But I see Jones taking a little bit of advantage on the bout.
Okay, and I mean, there's lots of talk about Jones being the best UFC fighter ever, the GOAT, as people say. Do you think he is?
I think depending on what I would like to see, there's if you were talking about John Jones, Mighty Mouse, Anderson Silva, and George St. Pierre, you can put any of those four, and on those are the top four in MMA, and you can pick who's the GOAT. But I still want to see more of Jones as a heavyweight. I heard a lot of people praising him for the performance against Gunn, but Gunn didn't really show up. So I hope Stipe does. I hope we can see a little bit more, and if he can win against Stipe, win against like the next couple contenders, and keep doing that, I think he will be number one on the list for sure. But for now, you can pick any of those four.
Yes, totally. And I'll leave with this final question, which I always like to ask for your fans and for your sponsors. Is there anything you'd like to say to them?
Yeah, I just want to thank all my fans that support me, send messages, and like were overall was like cheering for me all through this contender fight and all my career. And thank my sponsors that being with me for this camp and for the procedure future. best meals of YPR, Death Voice Immigration, AKV Accounting, Strike Recovery, Spartacus Gym, New Edge Alliance, Mutant, Happy Brew Company, and Go Ranger Podcast. Beside everyone at FKP MMA, my gym, my family, and my wife Gabby that I love so much, and it's been a main supporter on this journey.
Amazing. Well, I appreciate you very much for doing this interview. Best of luck with your UFC debut, whenever that might be, and I'm sure you're going to do and go very far, and maybe a little bit further along down the line we can come and have you back on the channel.
Oh, 100%. Thanks for having me to show. It's a pleasure, and for sure we'll chat again.
Amazing stuff. And so if you're new around here and you haven't subscribed, please do so. Like the video if you do need a like video, and thanks for watching.